Thank you, sir, for taking time to do the interview with us. So let's first start with the economy of India. The Reserve Bank of India holds interest rates steady at 6.5%. How long do you think the high interest rate policy will last?
This was the second time they have kept the policy rates steady at the same level. This is nothing but a reflection of the CPI coming down and actually now moving in the acceptable range of Reserve Bank of India. But they are very closely watching the scenario on the ground. Maybe in the next policy also I would expect a pause status from the Reserve Bank of India. So I think as far as the increase in policy rates are concerned, that seems to be behind us. Now when it comes to reduction in the policy rates, that is something which will have to probably wait and watch for another 2 or 3 quarters till such time the very clear inflationary trends are seen on the ground.
But in the meantime, the Federal Reserve and ECB both make the commitment that their monetary tightening has not over yet.
On this particular aspect, I would say that the global economies have decoupled to a greater extent. Because during the pandemic, when there was so much of money inflow, probably emerging market economies ensured that there should be only a sprinkling of the money. And that is one of the reasons why, perhaps for the first time ever, we have seen higher inflation in the developed markets as compared to the developing markets. Central banks have acted in tandem in the past, but of late now they have started reckoning the inflationary situation obtaining in their respective markets, and based upon that they are taking calls relating to the policy rates.
In light of this evolving global dynamics and emergence of a new international order, how do you envision the role of BRICS nations? What kind of greater economic cooperation you would like to see?
I think BRICS can actually create much larger economic market. And if at all BRIC nations start leveraging the strength of each of the economy, perhaps it can become a formidable economic force in the globe, which eventually will be for the good of all the country members who are members of BRICS.
Mm-hmm. In the meantime, there was a lot of discussion about regional currency arrangement. What do you think that the BRICS nation can do here?
For the regional currency or the regional currency union, what is very important is it should become the currency for invoicing. That is the first step. The second step is how is the balance of payment between these countries. If at all it is very unbalanced kind of a balance of payment, this can become a challenge. So if we look at the global currencies like the US dollar and also the euro, they have become strong and powerful because these currencies have become the currency for invoice.
Do you see maybe in the 10 years or 20 years the power of dollar to be challenged?
I think much of it will become the relative strength of the other currencies. When euro came into existence, people perceived that it is going to be a challenge for dollar, but in reality it has not become as much of a challenge for the US dollar. Dollar has continued to remain the global currency even now.
On the Indian stock market, actually the strong performance of Indian companies is driving overseas investors to continue to pour into this market, which just topped France to become the fourth largest stock market. What is your take from now on?
I think so long as the performance of the Indian corporate continues to be strong enough to give adequate reward to the investors, I'm sure they will be in a position to win the confidence of the investors.
India has experienced impressive economic growth in recent years. There has been a growing sentiment among economists that India may become the next China. How do you view this comparison?
Well, what we have seen in the recent past, particularly ever since post-COVID, we have seen that whole lot of digitization which has happened in the economy. So formalization and financialization put together are actually bringing in whole set of economic advantages in the economy. That is one aspect. The second aspect is India is very clearly focused in terms of investing in the infrastructure creation. Second, we are having a very clear focus for the renewable energy. We have a long-term goal of generating 500 gigawatt of the renewable energy within the economy. The third very important aspect is the strong domestic demand. So these are some of the major economic levers which are going to ensure that there should be a sustainable growth for the foreseeable future. And if at all we succeed in doing that, we would be reflecting what China did many years back in terms of having a sustainable economic growth. Eventually, it is the growth which will help the economy to propel from the developing status to the developed state.